at the end of the next, let's say 10 minutes, hopefully it'll be quick, you are going to know Bitcoin better than just about anyone. 99% of people out there who are already trading Bitcoin. You will understand why there is so much more to Bitcoin than just this token that you trade on an exchange. You will have a deeper appreciation for the size and the strength of this network that no one talks about. You'll know why this network is the most cryptographically secure network on the planet, why it is censorship resistant. And you will also know why, when I say things like blockchain is not the revolution, you'll have a deeper appreciation for all of those things at the end of this video. All right, but we are going to stick with the context of the story, the Byzantine Generals Problem, because that is way more exciting than talking about nodes and mining equipment, blah blah blah, all the technical stuff. All right, so let's get back to it. A quick recap. I'm the general of the Byzantine army, and you guys are my lieutenants. We have surrounded a city that we need to attack in unison in a coordinated fashion, else the attack is going to fail, right? So we've scoped out the place, and I have mapped out a set of plans. I've got a camp in the north, I've got a camp in the west, I've got a camp in the east, and I am going to send a set of instructions to all of you that might be intercepted by spies in the city, but I'm going to send these instructions to all of you so that we all know how we are going to go to war, how we're going to take over the city. Okay? The problem we have is our messages can be intercepted and tampered with, which throws all of our plans in disarray, because we've got city spies, which in the Bitcoin world would be the equivalent of, say, hackers on the network, right? We are going to have generals and other lieutenants who could be traitors, right? And therefore not respond according to the instructions, again, just throwing everything into disarray. So how do we solve this problem of decentralized decision making, reaching consensus on a decentralized basis, and to make sure that we are still successful in our efforts to take over the city? Okay, so here's how it's going to happen, and this is how Bitcoin solved it. First thing, as an army, we agree to a way of reaching consensus. We agree to a protocol that we are going to follow, or a procedure, a process, an algorithm, whatever works for you. We are going to agree on a way in which we are going to reach consensus about which instructions are legitimate and that we will execute upon. And we all have to go through this process of reaching this consensus, okay? And this process I'm going to outline for you very shortly. We all have to go through this process, because Mr. Traitor or Mr. Spy in the city that we want to take over, if you do not participate in the same process that all of us are participating in, you have no hope in hell of us accepting your incorrect or fraudulent transaction instructions, etc., and being able to thwart our efforts, okay? So the system is, we all agree to a process, a protocol. Everyone, whether you're a loyal lieutenant or a traitor, we all participate and operate on that particular basis. So that's number one. That is the consensus agreement that we will all operate under, okay? Number two, the actual process by which we determine whether the instructions for attack are legit or not is going to be a cryptographic process, okay? And I'm going to have to introduce a little bit of cryptography here for you guys, just a little bit, and then you'll understand why we call cryptocurrencies, because there's cryptography involved. All right, okay, so, and then there's a third step which I'll come to, but let's just handle this technical thing first. It is the concept of a hash function, a cryptographic hash function. What is a hash function? It's a mathematical function, algorithm, whatever word works better for you, that takes messages, arbitrary messages, and convert them into a string of letters and numbers of fixed length. And it's unique. You make a tiny change to the message contents, and this unique string of letters and numbers changes, all right? And it's a one-way function. You can only determine the unique string of letters and numbers using the message. You cannot determine the message using the string of letters and numbers, okay? It's a one-way function only, not two-way. And that's an important thing, and it is the basis upon which this whole thing is going to work. All right. So let's talk about the cryptographic process that all of us are going to have to go through in terms of making sure we all agree that the messages are legit. All right. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I've now scoped out the city, I've got an attack plan, and I'm going to send a block of instructions, attack instructions, for the northern camp. All right. But everyone needs to see those instructions, because the guys in the west and the east need to know what the guys in the north are going to do. All right. And I will send a block of instructions for the guys in the east. Similarly, a block of instructions for the guys in the west. So what's going to happen? You are all going to receive the first block of instructions, and you're going to go through this cryptographic process that I discussed. All right. And what is that cryptographic process? It is a process which is exceedingly difficult, and here's how it's going to work. You are going to take the messages that I sent you, and you need to find one number that when you add it to those messages and you take that combined message and number through a hash function, it produces that unique string of letters and numbers that is less than a certain target, and the target is something that we as the entire army have agreed to. Okay? But that is a difficult process. It is a brute force number crunching process. There's no formula for it, right? So you are going to take the message that I sent you, put the number 1 onto the message, or append it to the message, hash all of it, get a hash result. Does the hash result meet the requirement, which is it's less than the target? No. Okay, let's try number 2. Add number 2 to the message. Combine it, hash result. Is it less than the target? No. No. Number 3. Put number 3 in there. Hash the whole lot. Create a hash output. Is it less than the target? No. And so you go through the process over and over and over. And this effectively is what's happening on the Bitcoin network. When you guys hear this thing called mining, what's actually happening is you've got a bunch of computers that are continuously just trying different numbers all the time, creating hashes, trying different numbers, creating hashes, trying to find that one number that's going to yield the hash that is less than the target that we have agreed to as an army, or in the case of the network, the Bitcoin network, all the participants there. So what have you guys just learned? You've actually just learned what mining is all about. So in the real world, when you're mining for gold, you are like just scratching around through the ground and the rocks and the gravel to find gold. In this case, you are mining through a whole bunch of numbers to find that one number that will give you a hash that meets the requirement that we have set. That's it. So not only have you now learned what mining is, you've actually learned something else that you may or may not have come across, which is hash power, the hash power of the network. So whenever people talk about the hash power of the network, they talk about the combined computing power of all the computers on the network that are just spewing out hashes after hashes after hashes in an attempt to find that unique number that will give the right hash. And these computers are spewing out billions upon billions upon billions of hashes every single second. And the more hashes that are being pumped out by the computers, the stronger the network is. So you've actually learned two pretty cool technical things that not even Bitcoin experts know about. Okay. All right. So that is the process. I have now sent up my first block of instructions, and someone will eventually find that one number that, when added to my block of instructions, creates the right hash. But now let's get a little bit more specific. The process needs to be difficult enough, and you do that by setting this target we were talking about, such that on average only one person will be able to complete that cryptographic process in any 10-minute time frame. Okay? On average, only one person will be able to complete it within a 10-minute time frame. It's not impossible, but improbable. It is possible that two people in the army or on the Bitcoin network are able to find that unique number that makes their message valid according to the target requirements that we have set. So it's entirely possible that when I, Mr. General, sent out the attack instructions, that there's a spy in the city that happened to create a false message in terms of how to attack, found a number that, when added to his false message, still creates a hash that meets our requirements. And according to the rules of the game, all the other lieutenants out there have to act in accordance with that false message. That's the rule. Fortunately, the story doesn't end there, okay? Because there's a second block coming. And now things get really interesting. Because I send out the second block of instructions, and let's say this time it's for the guys in the east to tell them how they need to coordinate their attack, right? So, same process as before. You need to find a number that when you add it to those messages and you hash them, gives you a certain result. Except this time, it's not just the second block of instructions that you add the number to. You take the hash from the first block as well, add that to this block, and then find a number such that when you add the number to the second block's content and the hash of the first block, yields a hash that is below the target that we have all agreed to. What has just happened? We have now cryptographically chained two subsequent blocks. And this is why we talk about the blockchain, the blocks of instructions, or in the case of a Bitcoin network, the block of transactions are cryptographically chained together. All right, so let's just go back to that second block. If you had to tamper with the contents of the first block would require a different number to get a hash that is below the target. All right, and then that different hash would have to be added to the second block, which means that this second block with the new hash would require a different number to yield a hash that is less than the target we've agreed to. Okay, so in essence what would happen is in a scenario like what I've sketched, where it is on average so difficult that just one person can mine a block or find the number in any 10-minute time frame, it becomes exceedingly unlikely that the same person with the same original falsified message in block 1 is also able to find the second number for the second block sort of in sequence. In other words, he's got to strike it lucky twice. Okay, and it's not impossible, it is entirely possible. So what would happen with the second block? There would have been a first block that was created with a fraudulent attack message, and a second block that would have been created by everyone else, assuming that it wasn't the traitor that mined the second block as well. And the whole network, or the entire army, would have two sets of blocks. One with the first block having a fraudulent attack sequence, and another two blocks with the correct one. And now I'm going to send, as a general, my third block of instructions, okay? Unless this bugger has got enough computing power and luck to actually mine the third block as well. In other words, he strikes it lucky 3 times. For the third time, he finds a number that makes his third block yield a hash that is below the circuit target. The rest of the network will see a second chain of 3 blocks with a different sequence, or rather a different set of numbers in them. And the network will then discard this one, because the chances are that, based on the probabilities, this particular set of blocks or this particular blockchain is the legitimate one. Now, the whole system is set up so that, on average, the right set of messages will always reach the generals, but it's not impossible. This traitor could have way more computing power and actually build all 3 blocks on top of the fraudulent message. Now guys, I know I'm taking a little bit long, I'm going to rush you, but this is very important for you to understand, because this in effect demonstrates that the blockchain itself is not this tamper-proof, immutable construct that the management consultants keep telling you guys about. If you don't believe me, go and Google the Ethereum Classic 51% attack from earlier this year. It is exactly what I've just described. You've got someone with superior computing power that is able to mine blocks on top of a fraudulent set of transactions continuously, so that the network accepts the fraudulent block of transactions as the legitimate one and act according to that. So this is not about the fact that you've got blocks being cryptographically chained with one another, and as a result they are magically tamper-proof. Not at all. It is about the amount of computing power, the amount of decentralization. It is a numbers game. The more participants you have on the network, the more decentralized the system becomes. The more difficult it becomes for one individual or two or three individuals, if they had to collude, to overcome the collective computing power of everyone else in the network. Okay, and this is why Bitcoin is so strong. It has been running uninterrupted, unhacked for almost 11 years straight now. No government can come in and insert itself in the network and start tampering with transactions. No corporate has enough power to do that, okay? And the beauty of Bitcoin is that no one owns it. I don't know how many of you guys know this. There is no CEO behind Bitcoin, chaps. There is no marketing department. There is no LLC, PTY Limited, whatever company. Okay, it runs independently and it is censorship resistant. And this is one of the big reasons why it should be very scary for other big conglomerates and governments, because it is running without the ability to influence it. There is no one in charge. Okay, the consensus mechanism overrides any one person's desire or ability to try and affect how things are done in this network. So I'm going to start finishing off, guys. Please give us comments. This was a very difficult and tough topic to cover in a short space of time. Tell us if you'd like us to go into more detail. I'm going to try not to go as technical next time, but I will be referencing some of these concepts for you guys in future conversations, so that at least now there will be some substance. If there's anything, if I have an opinion about something, hopefully now you can understand that there is some substance to it. Please engage with us, ask us questions, give us your comments, give us your opinions, put it all there, and we'll do our best to respond to you. Guys, I hope you have a good one. Thanks for listening.